Emma Clark clutched her leather portfolio tightly as she walked through the gleaming glass doors of Barrington Industries. The morning sunlight reflected off the polished marble floors, casting a warm glow throughout the lobby. At 42, with her crisp navy suit and confident stride, she looked every bit the seasoned executive she was. 15 years of climbing corporate ladders and an Oxford business degree had prepared her for this moment, or so she thought. Her heart pounded against her ribs as she approached the reception desk. Though the board had unanimously selected her as the new CEO, only they knew her true identity. For the next 6 weeks, she would work undercover as a consultant, learning the company from within before taking the helm. "Emma Clark for Mr. Fletcher," she told the receptionist, who barely glanced up before directing her to the 18th floor. The lift doors opened to reveal a bustling office space. Men in tailored suits hurried past, their conversations a blur of market shares and quarterly projections. Emma stood tall, smoothing her jacket before approaching the corner office where she'd meet her temporary boss. Oliver Fletcher sat behind a massive desk, his silver-streaked hair perfectly styled. At 55, he'd spent 20 years at Barrington, rising to head of operations through what many called old boys network magic. He barely looked up from his phone when Emma entered. "You must be the new consultant," he sneered, finally, raising his eyes to give her a dismissive once-over. "The diversity initiative strikes again, I see." Emma remained expressionless, though her chest tightened. She'd faced this before, the assumption that her skin color, not her brilliance, had opened doors. "Take notes during meetings, fetch coffee when asked, and stay quiet unless spoken to," Oliver continued, turning back to his phone. "We don't need diversity hires slowing us down. Your desk is outside. Janet will show you the supply cupboard." "Thank you for the warm welcome," Emma replied evenly, refusing to let her voice betray her emotions. Over the following days, Emma observed Barrington's inner workings with keen eyes. Oliver dismissed her suggestions during meetings, speaking over her as though she were invisible. When she proposed a new approach to their struggling European market, he laughed, telling colleagues, "Our token hire thinks she understands international business." In meeting after meeting, Emma watched Oliver claim her ideas as his own. Her market research ended up in his presentations, her financial models appeared in his reports. When executives praised his insights, he'd glance at Emma with a smug smile that said, "Know your place." Each evening, Emma returned to her modest flat in Notting Hill exhausted. She kicked off her heels and made herself tea, questioning if she could truly transform the poisonous culture she'd witnessed. Barrington needed change, not just new leadership, but a complete shift in values. On Friday night, after a particularly brutal week where Oliver had mocked her accent during a team lunch, Emma sat curled on her windowsill watching rain streak down the glass. London lights twinkled through the drops, reminding her of stars. She reached for the framed photograph on her bedside table, a black and white image of a woman standing proudly before a bank entrance. Beatrice Clark had been one of the first black female bank managers in 1960s Britain, facing daily discrimination with unwavering dignity. "You survived worse," Emma whispered, tracing her grandmother's smile with her fingertip. Beatrice had told young Emma stories of being asked to clean offices she was meant to manage, of making tea for meetings she should have led. "They'll try to make you feel small," Beatrice had told her. "That's when you must stand tallest." Emma remembered her grandmother's hands, strong from years of proving herself, gentle when wiping away Emma's childhood tears after playground taunts about her skin color. "I won't let you down," Emma promised the photograph, setting it back beside her bed. She opened her laptop and began typing notes about everything she'd witnessed at Barrington, not for vengeance but for change. Tomorrow would bring another week of Oliver's casual cruelty, but Emma had survived decades of such treatment. The difference now? In 6 short weeks, she would have the power to ensure no one at Barrington experienced such discrimination again. Outside, the rain softened to a gentle patter. Emma made herself another cup of tea, her determination warming her more than the steaming liquid. She would transform Barrington not just in policies but in spirit. Her grandmother had fought so Emma could walk through doors once closed to women who looked like them. Now Emma would make sure those doors stayed open for everyone who followed. The grand ballroom of the Dorchester Hotel glittered with Barrington's annual leadership summit. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables draped in white linen. Nearly 300 employees filled the room, from junior managers to board members. The air buzzed with anticipation. Today they would meet their new CEO. Emma sat quietly at a back table among middle managers who had barely acknowledged her during the past month. She wore a tailored red dress that stood out among the sea of dark suits. Her heart raced, but her expression remained calm. This moment had been worth every slight, every insult. Across the room, Oliver Fletcher networked confidently among board members. He laughed too loudly, clapped shoulders, and dropped hints about exciting leadership changes. Many assumed he would be announced as the new CEO today. After all, hadn't he been positioning himself for years? The whispers suggested it was his time. "Another drink, sir?" A waiter offered Oliver champagne, which he accepted with the air of a man already celebrating. "Just a little something to prepare for my speech," Oliver told the group around him, adjusting his gold cufflinks. At precisely noon, Thomas Wilson, chairman of the board, tapped his microphone. The room fell silent as he stepped onto the stage. "Welcome to Barrington's 43rd Annual Leadership Summit," Thomas began. "We gather today at a turning point in our company's history. Before our usual proceedings, I'd like to introduce Barrington's new Chief Executive Officer." Oliver straightened his tie, a smug smile playing at his lips as he prepared to step forward. He nodded to colleagues nearby, already accepting silent congratulations. "This leader brings fresh vision, while honoring our traditions," Thomas continued. "Someone who understands business from the ground up. Please welcome Emma Clark." A wave of murmurs swept through the room. Necks craned as people looked around, confused. Most had never heard the name. Oliver's face drained of color, his smile freezing in place as Emma rose from her seat and walked confidently to the podium. Her steps were measured, her back straight. Thomas shook her hand warmly before yielding the stage. Emma adjusted the microphone and surveyed the room, noting the expressions ranging from confusion to shock. "Thank you, Thomas," she began, her voice warm but commanding. "For the past month, I've had the privilege of experiencing Barrington from within, not as your incoming CEO, but as your colleague." The murmurs grew louder. People leaned closer to neighbors, whispering frantically. Oliver remained frozen, champagne glass suspended halfway to his lips. "Some of you know me as the consultant in operations," Emma continued. "Others may not recognize me at all. That was intentional. The board and I agreed that to truly understand Barrington's culture, I needed to experience it as an ordinary employee would." Oliver's expression shifted from shock to horror as understanding dawned. His hand trembled, splashing champagne onto his sleeve. Nearby executives stepped away from him, creating sudden distance. "I've learned much during this time," Emma said. "I've seen tremendous talent throughout our ranks. I've also witnessed behaviors that undermine our potential." Her eyes found Oliver's across the room. Rather than publicly humiliating him as he had done to her countless times, Emma softened her gaze and continued. "Today marks a new chapter for Barrington, not one of blame or recrimination, but of growth and change. Barrington's greatest untapped resource is its people, all its people," she emphasized, her voice rising. "Innovation doesn't come from comfort. It comes from diverse perspectives being truly heard." Emma described her vision for the company's future, one where respect formed the foundation of every interaction. She outlined her plan to create accountability systems that would reward collaborative leadership rather than individual advancement at others' expense. "In the coming weeks, every department will participate in building this new culture, because at Barrington, we rise together, or we don't rise at all," she concluded. For 3 heartbeats, silence filled the room. Then someone began to clap. William the janitor, standing quietly at the back. Others joined, the applause building from tentative to thunderous. Several people rose to their feet, then dozens more, until nearly everyone stood applauding. Emma caught Oliver's eye across the room. He remained seated, face ashen. She nodded to him slightly, offering not triumph, but opportunity. This moment wasn't about revenge, but reformation, for him, for Barrington, for everyone who would come after her. As the applause continued, Emma noticed Thomas Wilson watching her with approval, The real work would begin tomorrow. Today was just the first step on a long journey toward the company Barrington could become. Emma's new office on the top floor of Barrington Industries featured floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Thames. Fresh flowers sat on her desk, and family photos lined the shelves, including her grandmother Beatrice's portrait in a silver frame. 3 days after the leadership summit, Emma reviewed quarterly reports when a knock interrupted her. Oliver Fletcher stood in the doorway, his usual confidence replaced by uncertainty. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, his normally perfect hair slightly disheveled. "Do you have a moment?" he asked, his voice quieter than Emma had ever heard it. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. Oliver sat stiffly, hands clasped tightly. In his lap. "You could have fired me on the spot," he said after a long pause. "Everyone expected it. Why didn't you?" Emma set down her pen and considered her words carefully. "Because firing you changes nothing," she replied. "The next Oliver Fletcher would simply take your place. Transforming you, that might change everything." Oliver looked down at his hands. "The things I said to you, the way I treated you, were not unique to you," Emma finished for him. "That's why I'm offering every manager at Barrington a choice. Grow with us or leave." She pushed a folder across the desk. Inside was her comprehensive leadership development program, 6 months of training, mentoring, and accountability measures, designed to reshape the company culture from within. "The first session starts Monday," Emma told him. "Your attendance isn't mandatory, but your future here depends on the changes you make." Over the following months, Emma's program took root. Throughout Barrington, weekly workshops addressed unconscious bias, effective communication, and authentic leadership. Middle managers paired with executives from different backgrounds. Performance metrics now included collaboration and mentorship. To everyone's surprise, including his own, Oliver became the program's most dedicated participant. He arrived early to sessions, took detailed notes, and volunteered for the most challenging exercises. During the 3rd month, in a group discussion about recognizing harmful behaviors, Oliver spoke up. The room fell silent. This was the man many considered the worst offender of old Barrington culture. "I never saw myself clearly," he admitted, his voice catching. "I justified my behavior as high standards rather than what it was, prejudice, masked as professionalism. When Emma first arrived, I saw only her color, not her qualifications. I'm just beginning to understand how many talented people I've misjudged throughout my career." The room remained quiet after he finished, many employees stunned by his honesty. Emma, observing from the back, simply nodded acknowledgement when Oliver met her eyes. 6 months later, Emma took the stage for her first company-wide address as CEO. Hundreds of employees filled Barrington's auditorium, with offices around the world joining by video. "6 months ago, I promised change," Emma began. "Today, I'm proud to share our progress." Graphs appeared on screens showing record growth across divisions. Employee satisfaction scores had jumped 40%. Most importantly, diverse talent was finally being recognized and promoted throughout the company, with 5 times more women and people of color in leadership positions than the previous year. "These aren't just numbers," Emma emphasized. "They represent human potential finally unleashed." After the presentation, as employees mingled with renewed energy, Oliver approached Emma. His face had softened over the months, the hard edges of arrogance replaced by something more genuine. "I owe you an apology that can never be adequate," he said quietly. "But I'm grateful for the chance to become someone different." Emma studied him. This man who had once been her tormentor now stood humbled before her. "We're all works in progress," she replied. "What matters is direction, not perfection." The following week, Emma launched Barrington's mentorship program for underrepresented professionals. 20 young faces filled the conference room, eager to begin careers in an industry that had previously shut them out. As Emma welcomed them, she spotted William the janitor watching from the doorway, smiling with gentle knowing. She beckoned him in, introducing him as one of Barrington's greatest witnesses to change. "Sometimes," she told the eager faces before her, "the greatest leadership isn't about having power, but about how you respond when you don't have it. Your challenges aren't obstacles to success. They're the very things that will make your success meaningful. That evening, Emma stood at her office window, watching London lights twinkle across the river. She remembered her grandmother's words. From childhood, "One day, love, this city will sparkle with possibility for people like us." Beatrice had been right. The light was there all along, waiting for someone brave enough to claim it.